Sue uses her force fields to levitate Ben into position, while Ben lifts a massive metallic beam. Reed stretches across the skyscrapers, using the beam to help stabilize the buildings. As they finish up, Johnny swoops in dramatically with a flashy new ship he borrowed for style points, bragging about how sleek it is and how it makes him look cooler than the rest of the team. Before they can argue with him, an armored suit suddenly appears in the sky. It resembles Iron Man's armor, so the team is caught off guard. They assume it's Tony Stark paying them a surprise visit, but instead of greeting them, the suit opens fire. The heroes try to reason with the armored suit at first, hoping that whoever is inside might respond, but the attempt is wasted. The machine keeps attacking and blasting at them without hesitation. Left with no other choice, the Fantastic Four are forced to fight back. In the process, they manage to knock off the suit's helmet. To their surprise, it's empty. Instead of collapsing, the hollow shell continues to move as though it has a mind of its own. Then, out of nowhere, more suits arrive, and the team is surrounded within moments. The sheer numbers push them onto the defensive, as each member struggles to hold their ground. Realizing they can't win in a straight fight, Reed quickly devises a plan. He tells the others to keep the suits busy and buy him some time, while he stretches his body across the battlefield and slips into a nearby building, searching for what he needs. Despite the team's best defensive effort, one of the suits breaks through, pursuing Reed into the structure. But before it gets to attack, Reed activates a device that sends a shockwave out and instantly disrupts the systems of the suits. For a moment, the suits stop attacking, so the team thinks it's over. But instead of shutting down, the suits suddenly reboot and fly away, retreating without explanation. Puzzled, the team decides to get answers directly from Tony Stark. At Stark Industries, they find him in the middle of an important business meeting. Without hesitation, they interrupt and demand to know why his armor just tried to wipe them out. Tony is blindsided by the accusation. He insists he has no idea what they're talking about and assures them that all his suits are secured in his underground vault. The Fantastic Four aren't convinced, so they press him to prove it. Tony reluctantly agrees and takes them through a series of high-security checkpoints. They ride an elevator that seems to go hundreds of floors down, passing multiple locked gates and biometric scans that only Tony can access. At the final vault, Tony inputs his unique passcode, certain he's about to clear his name. But when the massive doors open, the room is empty. Every single one of his suits is gone. The Fantastic Four glare at him, confirming their suspicions, while Tony is left stunned and embarrassed. Before they can process the events, a robot suddenly shows up and announces that they're dealing with a genius called Dr. Doom. It explodes immediately, like a deliberate trap to bury everyone alive. The shockwave from the explosion is so massive that the entire foundation crumbles. Thanks to Sue, they all survive the explosion. She and Ben then spring into action to hold the structure together, but it's way beyond their capacity as the building begins to crack even more. Just as it seems they'll be crushed, Tony summons his main armor, guided by Jarvis. The suit stabilizes key supports and helps keep the building standing long enough for everyone to escape. The Fantastic Four are at first wary of trusting another Stark suit after what just happened, but they quickly realize Jarvis is on their side. Outside the building, Iron Man immediately declares that since it's his problem, he's going to stop Dr. Doom himself. The Fantastic Four offer to tag along, but he shuts down their offer and flies away to confront the Terror on his own. Not used to being bossed around, the heroes tag along anyway. At the battle site, Tony is already engaging an army of his stolen suits. When the squad arrives at the scene, he doesn't seem quite pleased to see them. They claim to have come to lend him a hand, but he tells them he doesn't need their help. Immediately, a signal activates from his suit, which jams the other suits' frequencies, causing them all to go offline for good this time. Doom then reveals himself on a nearby skyscraper, mocking the heroes while boasting about his new achievements and showing off his new suit. Iron Man charges at him to attack him, but Doom activates a failsafe that hijacks Tony's armor directly. Iron Man loses all control as his armor seizes up, forcing him to attack the Fantastic Four. The team scrambles to defend themselves as Tony shouts warnings about each incoming weapon system. Reed stretches to wrap around him and try to restrain the armor, but the suit's power is too overwhelming. It blasts Reed into the air and drags him with it. While struggling, Reed calls out to Herbie, his ship's onboard AI, asking it to hack into Jarvis to break Doom's control. Herbie, still annoyed that Reed had been testing upgrades on other systems, refuses at first. Reed pleads with it, insisting he never intended to replace Herbie and only wanted to improve it. Iron Man blasts him off, so Sue is forced to protect him as she shields him from more incoming attacks. Meanwhile, Sue shields Reed from further blasts while Johnny and Ben take the fight directly to Doom. They tag team him, but his modified armor proves far too strong. Back in the sky, Reed finally convinces Herbie to cooperate. The AI launches a hack on Tony's armor, trying to override Doom's commands. The process is rough, and Herbie begins to burn out under the strain, but it manages to force a break in the control system before crashing offline. Tony regains control of his suit just as Doom turns his attention back to Ben and Johnny for a finishing blow. Following Reed's instructions, Tony intercepts Doom with a similar attack. He closes in on Doom and makes direct contact with his armor. The moment they connect, Doom's systems begin to short out, overloaded by feedback from Stark's core. Doom's suit sparks violently, forcing him to disengage as it self-destructs on him.
For survival! Sorry, Doom. May touch Doom!
Furious, he vows revenge before retreating, and the heroes just stand there and watch him leave. With Doom gone, the threat is finally over. The Fantastic Four regroup with Tony, who thanks them for their help. He admits that he was wrong for saying he didn't need their help. He then flies away. Later that day, Reed improves Herbie to a later version as promised. The Fantastic Four find themselves in a difficult battle against the evil alchemist Diablo. Diablo explains that alchemy is the melding of science and mysticism. He claims that with his potions, he can command the elements themselves. After pouring a red liquid into a mysterious chalice, Diablo starts chanting, declaring that the essences of earth, fire, water, and air will live inside of him. The Fantastic Four struggle to stop him as the forces of nature attack them. Sue gets chased by a relentless fire that traps her in a fiery cage, while Johnny gets swept up by a violent tornado. Diablo claims that with these powers, he will rule the world, but Reed disagrees and states that the only thing he can rule is a fairy tale. Reed claims that alchemy isn't real, that it isn't science, and most certainly isn't magic. Thing disagrees with Reed as relentless waters are tossing him around while Reed is captured by a giant clay hand made of the ground. Diablo claims he has planned this ceremony for over 400 years and declares that Reed will soon become a believer despite being a self-proclaimed man of science. Reed argues that although he doesn't know what he's doing yet, it isn't magic, for he believes that there's no such thing. Suddenly, the Eye of the Storm opens up and bathes Diablo in cosmic power. Thing breaks free and tries to attack Diablo, but the giant clay hand brushes him aside along with Reed. Johnny and Sue trade disasters with her on the tornado while he deals with the living flame. Johnny tries to convince it to be friends, given they are of the same nature, but it still attacks him. Tired of it, he switches back with Sue and jumps into the tornado when he loses his flames and falls on top of Diablo, who is about to consume the potion of fire. Diablo suddenly loses control of the forces of nature, frustrated at Johnny for ruining the ritual. Thing is furious at Diablo after what he put them through. When they are about to capture him, he throws an object into the ground and disappears in a green smoke. Back at the Baxter building, Thing is still furious at Reed for not telling them that they were up against a magic supervillain guy. Reed argues that it's not magic as there's no such thing. They strapped Johnny to a table to analyze the liquid that he was drenched with. The AI Herbie informs them that the liquid conforms to no known material. Although there are trace elements of sulfur and several oxides, the combined result does not compute, but Thing insists it is magic. Sue wonders if Johnny is okay, to which Reed explains that there's no medical or biological side effect to Johnny's exposure. He insists that it's not magic, but wonders how Diablo was able to affect the energy in the area with the chemicals. Reed asks Herbie to run facial recognition on Diablo, to which it finds Esteban Diablo, a Spanish alchemist born in 1521. Reed claims it's just a software glitch, but Thing insists that it's magic, which he still refuses to believe. Unable to hold it anymore, Johnny insists on taking a shower after he takes a plunge in Diablo's potion of fire. He slowly walks into the bathroom when everything he touches starts to melt. When he thought it was a bad case of fireproofing the bathroom, everything turned for the worse when he even melted the ground and fell to the first floor. He quickly flies out when he suddenly bursts into a bright light, which fascinates Johnny with his newfound powers. Later, the others notice Johnny's unusual behavior, whose mere presence radiates heat even when not transforming. When they were about to confront him, Johnny flew out, claiming to save a window washer that was falling. Reed asks Susan to talk to him, to which she flies after Johnny. She walks in on Johnny arguing with people and asks him if there's anything wrong. Johnny claims that his powers are just getting stronger and brushes her off. Sue was surprised to see the damage Johnny did to the building when he saved the window washer. Meanwhile, Thing is furious when he discovers his favorite vehicle melting and confronts Johnny. He storms into his room to find it in a mess and a miniature fire elemental talking for him, so he decides to walk away. Diablo is furious at the Fantastic Four for ruining the ceremony when it took him centuries of searching and preparation. Spiteful, he uses a drop of a potion to show him what Johnny, the one who destroyed the potion of fire, is doing. Diablo quickly realizes after seeing Johnny's eyes that the essence of the fire elemental still lives within him. That said, Diablo plans on pushing the fire elemental within Johnny and making it grow to consume him, so he can then claim it for himself. That way, he will be able to complete the ritual and the power of the elements will finally be his. Meanwhile, Thing was going about his day when Johnny's fire elementals were their mischievous selves and annoyed him. Thing tries to be patient with Johnny, but when he's had enough, he goes to Reed. Reed explains how he's managed to design a particle emitter that he believes can neutralize the energies that Diablo is using. Thing interrupts and takes him to his room, where they find a big ball of fire in the center of it all. Reed grabs the fire extinguisher, but it doesn't put it out and only makes it worse, so Thing decides to talk to Johnny himself. Thing finds Johnny in the lab, who shows off that he can turn water into flames. Thing confronts Johnny, but when he tries to brush him off, he tries to stop him. Johnny claims they are done, to which he blows Thing away and flies off. Thing wanted to chase after him, but Johnny melted the bottom of his shoes and he tripped. With no choice left, Thing talks to Susan and explains how Johnny is talking to little fire people. Thing initially thought Johnny was being his weird self, but he now worries that he is losing it. Susan suspects that Johnny must just be pranking him, but Thing insists that this is different. He claims something has changed in him, and it's getting worse. Reed finally finishes what he was working on, claiming that it should work against Diablo after keying in the energies he was generating at the park. He believes Diablo will use those energies again, which he will detect and neutralize him with it. At a loss for words, he calls it the neutralizer. Susan brushes the issue, claiming it's no big deal, explaining Johnny's powers are increasing just like hers did before. Reed claims that she has always had access to her full power, but she chose not to use it, unlike Johnny, who used his powers to the max since day one. He believes that if Johnny's powers really are changing and he's not just showing off, then something may be seriously wrong. Little did they realize that Diablo was watching and thrilled to see them panicking over the situation. Johnny goes into the city and flies past traffic, melting car tires as he wants. When he returns home, Reed asks him to come to his lab so he can run more tests on him, but he refuses, claiming to be busy. Thing sarcastically replies that he is busy, melting the city. Johnny claims that they are just jealous of his power, to which Diablo was whispering in his ear and instigating him. Susan tries to talk to him, but Diablo convinces him to show off his power. Johnny claims that they are scared that he's more powerful than all of them, and that they want to take it away from him. When Johnny is about to escape, Thing tries to grab him, but his hand goes through him. Johnny declares that the time for talking is over, and it is now time for fire, to which he transforms into a red flame, different from his usual. Johnny starts attacking them, even Susan, his own sister. Thing tries to blow him away with a clapping shockwave, but when it doesn't work, Johnny creates giant flame hands and crushes Thing with it. Reed turns into a ball to break him up and traps him under his indestructible clothes, or so he thought. He thought it would extinguish his flames, but Johnny breaks free, to which Reed was surprised as they were made of unstable molecules, and nothing could have damaged them. Thing repeats himself and claims that it's magic. Susan grows tired and traps Johnny in an air bubble. She tries to suffocate the flames and tells him not to resist them, or he will burn oxygen that much faster, and he will pass out. Johnny refuses to give up and instead blows up the barrier Susan trapped him with. Reed claims that if this is Diablo's influence, then the neutralizer he built could work on Johnny. Susan refuses when she learns that it's untested and could disintegrate him. She claims that Johnny's her brother and she will deal with him herself. That said, she tells Herbie to open the door so she can take it outside. As soon as the ceiling doors are open, Johnny quickly flies out, and Susan chases after him. She tried to talk sense into him, but he wouldn't listen. She grows tired of trying to convince him that she decides to use force. When he pins him against the wall, Susan brushes him off, to which he falls. She quickly checks on him, worried about his brother, who fakes passing out to get her close. He quickly overwhelms her with his flames, and he even breaks through the barrier she has around her. When he is about to finish an unconscious Susan, the real Johnny resists and pulls out the evil flames within him.
You hurt her! Get
Johnny immediately checks up on Susan and is relieved that she is okay, albeit still furious at him for attacking them. After purging the evil flames inside him, a giant elemental stood before them. As Susan and Johnny are prepared to fight it, Diablo suddenly appears before them and commands it to bend to his will, to which it gets absorbed into the chalice. With it, Diablo resumes where he left off and continues with the ritual. Just as he was about to finish it, Reed and Thing drove past him, ready to shoot the neutralizer. Diablo uses a giant stone arm to blow away the Excelsior and blasts Johnny away as well. Susan tries to catch him off guard, but he blasts her with a mighty torrent. Reed wonders if Susan still has an issue with him using the neutralizer on Diablo, to which she gives her approval. When Diablo is about to complete the ceremony, Reed hits him with the neutralizer to cut him off. After being cut off from the magic, Diablo turns into a weak old man and passes out. Thing wonders if there's a supervillain prison for senior citizens. Later, Johnny finds the time to apologize to everyone for being obsessed with all that power that he turned on them. The others quickly restrain him and jokingly suggest getting the neutralizer, worried that Johnny isn't acting himself.